All right, good morning. I would like to call to order the meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Today is October 1st, 2024, and the time is 9:32. I would like to call up Pastor Tim Cruz for the First Assembly of God for the invocation. All right, please rise.
Good morning. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this opportunity we have to come together as a city of Fort Myers just to lift up your city, to thank you for the opportunity we have to come together as a family. Thank you for allowing us to serve this city, to be here. We ask for your grace, your covering over our city as we work hard to just keep our eyes on you. So God, continue to bless us, bless Florida, and God bless America. We ask you to continue to move in ways only you can. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, please be seated. Okay, we have 5 ceremonial presentations this morning. I would like to recognize Commissioner Pendergrass for the first presentation.
Thank you, Chairman. If I could have Karen and Prabal come up. We have a special guest in the house this morning. Wilma's here this morning. She's a little black and white mix, terrier mix. And good morning, Wilma.
Hi, Wilma.
And you can see in the picture she's really well behaved and she's looking for a home. And Karen, you can tell us about some programs going on. And also, I'd like to recognize what we talk about later. Also, our animal services was recognized as Florida Animal Control Agency of the Year. So congratulations to you and your staff for that.
So right now we're once again participating in the Bissell's Empty the Shelters promotion, and that goes through the 15th, so all adoptions are waived with an approved application. And it's a great program. Bissell helps us out quite a bit. We've also set up Check the Chip Days with the Sheriff's Office Outreach Centers. We do that twice a year anyway at our building, but now we're going to do them in different locations as well once a month so that people can come and make sure that their chip information is up to date and also get a microchip if they need one. So that one is coming up on the 24th at the Miramar Outreach. Sunday is Hooters and Hounds. So if you like wings and you want to adopt a dog, come on over to the Fort Myers Hooters. We'll be there. Big Hearts for Big Dogs and Cape Coral Animal Shelter will be out there. And then we have our trunk or treat on the 26th for the kids or your dogs to come on out to our parking lot and have some fun there too.
Thank you, and congratulations to your staff and everything you do for our animals in Lee County and providing great services. And hopefully Wilma will find a home today after today.
She's 2 years old, so that's as big as she's getting. So she's a
got a lot
great
of energy.
size. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Pendergrass, you will also read the next proclamation.
Great, thank you. If I have Leonardo Garcia here, and I think he has his whole group of supporters here and volunteers, come forward. Angela, we got Mayor Anderson here from the city of Fort Myers. It's a big group effort.
25 years.
25 years, this has been a great program here in Lee
Yeah.
County, and we got some great pictures to show. Well, thank you all for coming down today and celebrating what you've been doing for the last 25 years. So I'd like to read the proclamation of the record. Whereas the Multicultural Center of Southwest Florida, Inc. has established 25 years ago to promote multicultural activities and to help students at Southwest Florida start school with pride and self-esteem. Whereas the Multicultural Center of Southwest Florida started a big backpack event to provide students with free backpacks, school supplies, and food for the new school year. Whereas the Big Backpack event celebrated its 25th anniversary on July 28, 2024, serving 2,500 students in the need with backpacks, school supplies, and food at the skating rink in Fort Myers. Whereas the Big Backpack event has served over 50,000 students with need and free backpacks, school supplies, and food in Lee County and other areas of Southwest Florida. Whereas the Multicultural Center of Southwest Florida extends its gratitude to hundreds of volunteers, like many here today, community businesses, and elected officials for helping over the 50,000 students to get their backpacks in 25 years. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Lee County, Florida, does hereby recognize Multicultural Center of Southwest Florida, Inc. in its Big Backpack event for serving over 50,000 students in 25 years, duly executed by our chairman, Mike Greenwell. Congratulations.
Thank you. Come on for a picture.
sheriff's department, we had probably about 20 deputies there that day helping with the logistics and the city police, parking and.
How are you?
We got a picture back in the back too.
Same.
Come get the picture.
I promise I'm gonna have a salad for lunch.
All right, and 1, 2, and 3. And 1 more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Leonardo, would you like to say something to the microphone?
Kevin, how you doing, bud?
What an honor to have so many volunteers.
Yeah, this is
The
why it's such
mayor,
a-
the sheriff's office,
Every year it gets
Sheriff
bigger and
Marcino.
bigger, and this is why it's such a success, and what you guys
Yeah.
did last month was amazing. So,
And you know, I think we have the best county in the entire United States of America because we have the big backpack event here, serving 50,000 students, needed students in 25 years. And that is thanks to all of them and 400 volunteers that we have throughout the year. And I want to especially thank the county sheriff's Marcino because they always been there with us all the time. The Mayor Kevin Anderson, has been wonderful too. Neil Communities has been a big support every year. And of course, all those beautiful volunteers you see over there. I want to thank them, and I want to thank you for keeping Lee County doing the best.
thank you for
Have
helping
a
show.
wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Hammond, would you like to present the third proclamation?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'd like to call up Rob Harris, the Executive Director of the Southwest Regional Manufacturers Association of Florida. Rob, did you bring anybody else with you from SRMA?
I did not. I am representing the whole industry for the
All right,
county.
beautiful, beautiful. Well, I will read this proclamation into the record, and then we'll take a picture with you, Rob, and then I'll ask you to say a few words.
Perfect, thank you.
About manufacturing. Okay. The resolution reads as follows. Whereas October 4th, 2024 is National Manufacturing Day, an effective way to highlight the importance of the manufacturing sector in our nation's economy and to draw attention to the many rewarding, high-skilled, high-paying manufacturing careers available within our local community. Whereas the Southwest Regional Manufacturers Association of Florida, SRMA, representing nearly 750 manufacturing facilities in Lee County, producing a diverse array of products, providing employment for more than 8,000 citizens at an average annual wage of $63,500. And whereas SRMA works with our educators to increase awareness of these career opportunities and to support school programs that provide the educational pathways to obtain them, and whereas the Board of County Commissioners commends and supports this important cause and the organizations involved. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Lee County, Florida does hereby proclaim October 2024 as Manufacturing Awareness Month in Lee County and urges all citizens to join in recognizing the value of our manufacturers and the importance they serve in our county, state, and the nation. It's signed this first day of October by our chairman, Mike Greenwell. Congratulations.
Great, thank you very much.
Rob, would you say a few words?
Well, first and foremost, thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for recognizing manufacturing as an important part of our balanced and diverse economy. I can tell you that not every county does that. With all these catastrophes that we seem to be having lately, manufacturing is one of the industries that is just consistent. Some of the catastrophes raises manufacturing to the next level. We are busy, we're employing, and we employ high-wage jobs. We work very closely with the Lee County EDO. We work closely with the Horizon Council, the Horizon Foundation. And we're very involved with the Manufacturer of the Year Award that is put on every year with the Industry Association Awards. So it's great that you guys understand the importance of manufacturing. We appreciate that. We're also very tied in with the workforce here locally. We work closely with Career Source Southwest, with the Future Makers, with Lee County Schools, with the tech colleges, FSW, FGCU. We are expanding advanced manufacturing in the county. I'm sure you've heard that there's going to be more in the high schools and in the tech colleges here very shortly, which is fantastic. We do a lot with career awareness. So the goal really is to get younger age students, even elementary school, to be aware of the opportunities that are here in Lee County. One of my colleagues who works at a university says Florida's greatest export is its people. We have to stop that. We are educating our people here. We need to keep them here for employment. There are great opportunities. The problem is nobody knows what's behind those white walls in these manufacturers. So we're trying to change that. And lastly, we're creating a career path that will go from 6th grade all the way through a 4-year degree. What manufacturer would not want to hire a high school graduate that has been in a robotics program for 7 years in grade school, and then take it to a tech college, and then take it to FSW, and then take it to FGCU with stackable credentials? Super valuable, and that means high wages for the people that are employed. So again, thank you very much. We appreciate it on behalf of all the manufacturers in Lee County. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Hammond. Commissioner Rain, would you like to present the next proclamation?
I would. Is Chrissy Yanes here? Hi. Anyone else from Healthy Earth Organization for a beach proclamation? Proclamation reads, whereas Hurricane Ian caused widespread devastation in our community, leaving behind significant debris and environmental hazards on our beaches. And whereas the Healthy Earth Organization, in partnership with local residents, companies, organizations, Parks and Rec, has organized monthly cleanups to aid in the recovery and restoration of our beautiful coastal areas. And whereas these monthly cleanups have united community volunteers from all backgrounds with support for local businesses, city departments, committing to removing debris, restoring the safety and beauty of our beaches. And whereas these efforts have resulted in the removal of numerous hazardous, from large debris to small plastics, protecting beachgoers and local wildlife, while promoting environmental stewardship, civic pride, collaboration across the community. And whereas the dedicated and hard work of these volunteers, alongside with contributions from companies, organizations, and the Parks and Rec Department, have exemplified the spirit of resilience and unity, playing a vital role in the ongoing recovery of Hurricane Ian. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Lee County, Florida, do hereby proclaim, recognize the appreciation for extraordinary contributions of all community volunteers, local businesses, organizations, Parks and Rec involved in monthly cleanup efforts in honor of Hurricane Ian recovery, and unwavering dedication to maintaining and enhancing the natural beauty of our beaches. Signed by our Chairman, Mike Greenwell, October 1st, 2024. Thank you very much. Can I give you the proclamation? And you can. Thanks. Thank you. So you want to say a few words? Thank you very much.
Good morning, and thank you for having us. On behalf of the Healthy Earth, we would love to express our deep gratitude for this proclamation. In the wake of Hurricane Ian, our organization, alongside with our community, has worked tirelessly to restore and protect our beloved coastline. The monthly beach cleanups we've hosted have brought us together, removing debris and showing our resilience as we recover. We are especially grateful for our supporters: Surfing's Evolution Foundation, Rock the Ocean, Fairfield Inn, Bonita Springs, Chapman Insurance, the Lee County Park and Recreation Department, and Seminole Casino Hotel for their ongoing support. And a special thank you to Mia Ray, whose advocacy has been key to the success of our hurricane anniversary cleanups. As we've just been impacted by Hurricane Helene, our work is far from over. We will continue these cleanups to ensure that our beaches remain safe and beautiful for all. This recognition highlights the power of our collective efforts, and we are committed to keep the momentum going. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I want to begin by expressing my deep gratitude to the county and for the community for coming together today. When we first reached out to Fallon at the Healthy Earth organization, it was originally our goal to join forces to establish a day of remembrance for Hurricane Ian. My heart was set on honoring the community that has endured so much, especially those who were directly impacted by the devastation just 2 years ago. While we weren't able to officially add the date to the calendar, I'm deeply grateful to the county's recognition through today's proclamation, which highlights the invaluable work being done by organizations like the Healthy Earth. Their contributions to restoring our shores and healing our community have been nothing short of remarkable. I'd also like to acknowledge Chapman Insurance Group, a company I am incredibly proud to be a part of, for always championing initiatives that support and uplift our community. The work we do is driven by a shared commitment to seeing Southwest Florida rebuild and thrive, and it's through partnerships like this one that we can have a meaningful impact. So thank you all for recognizing these efforts, and thank you to the Healthy Earth organization for the important role you've played in supporting our mission and helping us to make a lasting impact.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Rain. I would like to read the last proclamation and recognize the 4-H week. Is Ariel Pierce here, and did you bring some friends along, it looks like, so come on up. All right, Ariel, I'll read this and then come up and get a photo and then hopefully say a few words for us. Whereas 4-H is the largest youth development organization in the United States, over 300,000 members in the state of Florida, being a part of the 6.5 members across the country. And whereas the 4-H community is young people who are learning leadership, citizenship, and life skills. And whereas the Lee County 4-H Youth Development Program exists to develop young people ages 5 through 18 and have served young people in our state since 1909. And whereas the 4-H program has molded itself to meet the needs of our citizens by focusing on developing rural, suburban, and urban youth through the Florida Cooperative Extension. And whereas the program uses the research and knowledge base of our state's land-grant institutions to institute food and agriculture science at the University of Florida, known as IFAS Extension. And whereas through learning by doing experiences, young people in the 4-H program practice life skills with the guidance of caring adult volunteer members and cooperative extension facility and staff. And whereas the 4-H provides Lee County youth with opportunities to develop positive relationship, competitiveness, attitudes, as well as making positive choices for their lives, therefore effectively preparing them to meet the challenges and becoming productive citizens and being in our workforce ready. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Lee County, Florida, does hereby proclaim the week of October 6, 2024 as 4-H Week. Lee County is hereby commends the youth participants for representing their pledge to use their heads and clear thinking, and their hearts for greater loyalty, their hands for larger service, and their health for better living. Duly executed by Commissioner Greenwell, myself, October 1st, 2024. Come on up, let's get a photo. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, Ariel, please say a few words. Thank you.
You can bring a pig next time if you like.
That's right. That'd be so cool.
Sure. You can bring a pig or a chicken. I mean,
Thank you, commissioners and staff. We are honored to be here today to help celebrate National 4-H Week in Lee County, which runs October 6th through the 12th. And we would like to take a moment to thank you for your recognition and your continued support. Our Positive Youth Development Program is delivered through Lee County 4-H, which is a strong partnership through the University of Florida IFAS Extension and Lee County Parks and Recreation. I have with me today the heart of our program, which is our volunteers and our youth. And I would like to invite to the podium one of our many youth voices, Lainey Fisher, senior 4-H'er, to give a few words.
Good morning. Hello, my name is Lainey Fisher, and I'm a member of Lee County Team Leadership 4-H Club. 4-H is delivered by a cooperative extension of a community more than 100 universities across the nation that provide experience when young people are learning by doing. More than 100 years, 4-H has welcomed young people of all beliefs and backgrounds, giving kids a voice to express who they are and how they make their lives and communities better. 4-H programs are grounded in the belief that youth learn best by doing. Kids and teens complete hands-on projects in areas like science, health, agriculture, and civil engagement, in a positive environment where they receive guidance from adult mentors and are encouraged to take proactive leadership roles. Youth are concentrated on one focused area, or they can try various programs throughout their 4-H experience. Regardless of the project area, all 4-H programs include mentoring, career readiness as a core element. Over 950 urban and rural youth ages 5 to 18 in Lee County were reached last year through community clubs, short-term special interest clubs, statewide virtual clubs, school enrichment, and camp programs. Despite the trials and turbulence Lee County has experienced the past couple of years, Lee County 4-H remains resilient and continues to grow by offering opportunities for all in Lee County, giving youth a safe space to learn workforce readiness while empowering them with skills to lead for a lifetime. We are looking forward to finding our spark and making the best better in Lee County as we kick off our new 4-H year.
All right, great job. All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, at this time, we will take up the recap. At this time, we will take up recap. There are no items to defer and no corrections. So we will move to the consent agenda. Commissioner Hammond, do you have any items to pull?
No, not today, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Pendergrass, any items?
No items.
Commissioner Sandelli?
No items.
Commissioner Wayne?
No items.
I have none. All right.
I move the balance of the
Second.
agenda.
All right. I do not believe I have any cards of the consent agenda. So we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Pendergrass, a second from Commissioner Wayne. So I do not have any cards on that, so we'll just move forward. That concludes the, I'm sorry. We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Pendergrass, a second from Commissioner Wayne. Is there any further discussion on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, no public comment.
Yeah.
Just let record reflect. Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion for the board? Okay. Public comment. Does anyone wish to speak on the consent agenda that did not put a card up? And if you did put a card up, please let me know that I didn't misplace it.
Which item?
I didn't put a card up, sorry.
Say it again.
I didn't put a card up, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's
I didn't
okay.
realize
Just
I was
tell us
supposed
what
to.
you're speaking.
Joe Petrella, Cape Coral Parks and Recreation Director.
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to come up and give my gratitude of support for the projects that the Tourism Development Council has brought forward on the consent agenda, and also the support that the board is giving for the projects that we have in Cape Coral. So I just want to give our gratitude and represent Cape Coral. Thank you.
Thank you. That was nice. Anyone else wish to speak on the consent agenda at this time? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Again, I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Pendergrass, a second from Commissioner Wayne. Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none. Any objections? No objections. Consent agenda moves unanimously. We'll move to the administrative agenda. Mr. Harner, please introduce item 1 on the administrative agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item is to approve renewing annual subrecipient contracts for Partnering for Results, and I'd like to ask Ms. Julie Boudreau to present the item.
Good morning, Commissioners. Julie Boudreau, Human and Veteran Services. So this agenda item is to approve our subrecipient contracts through our Partnering for Results program. It's $5,586,442 for 38 nonprofits providing 51 programs. The programs focus on supportive living, out-of-school youth activities, and emergency assistance. And this is a program that I know our nonprofits in our community really appreciate that you have been supporting for many years. So thank you, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions at this time for the board? No? All right, I will call for public comment. Does anyone wish to speak on this item? Item 1. Coming up. And please state your name.
Louis Joe Shopmiller for the record. I think this is a good program to give people the help that they need, also to work on the housing needs that we all are trying to get people up the street to better their lives. So the wraparound services such as this are a good thing. I brought in a statement that I brought to the City Council and also to you commissioners by a psychologist that I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but stating the very need for these kind of services, mental health, wraparound service, and to have shelter. So I thank you for your time, and we need to work together.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else wish to speak on item 1? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Anyone would wish to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for approval and then would love to share a comment. Too.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Hammond, a second from Commissioner Pendergrass. Commissioner Hammond.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say thanks again for the support that the board has shown for this program. You know, we all talk about the idea of limited government and the idea of cutting through bureaucracy. And here with this $5.5 million, we're able to support more than 38 nonprofit agencies. Instead of creating government departments and government programs to do these things, we're contracting here with private nonprofits and the private sector to support them in their mission to really help raise up our community and support the human services in our community. And so I think this is an efficient way to do it. It's something that I'm proud to continue to be a part of along with you guys.
Thank you, Commissioner Hammond.
They also think support over the years we've talked about this, we increased the funding for this, and like Commissioner Hammond said, this is getting money out on the street to the people that's in need. That's the most important thing, getting the services to the people that are in need. So, thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? Okay. Mr. Harn.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to let you know there is a walk-on on the agenda.
Okay. Added?
I'm not sure if you have the latest update, but in your discussion, you said there were no carry-ons or walkovers, and I just wanted to let you know there was.
All right, we'll go back to that.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that was not on my list, so sorry about that. All right, so we have a motion. Kind of lost my space here, guys. All right. So we had a motion to approve from Commissioner Hammond, a second from Commissioner Pendergrass. Is there any other discussion on it? Do I move forward, or do we go back to that now?
We just announced it, so I believe it's fine. Just want to make sure.
Finish this up and then go back? Is that what we're going to do?
Yes, sir. We can take up the walk-on later after the balance of both this item and the public hearing at 9:30.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Apologize for that. It didn't get on my list for some reason. So, all right. So we had a motion to approve Commissioner Hammond, a second from Mr. Pendergrass. Any further discussion? Any objections? Seeing none, motion moves unanimously. Okay. So that concludes the administrative agenda. We will move to public hearing. Item number 1. I'm sorry. Do the walk on now? Let's do the walk on now or do it later?
You want to do it now or?
Mr. Chairman, at the board's discretion, but I would suggest that you do the public hearing now And then we can go back to the walk-on.
Sorry. All right, no, that's okay. That's okay. Want to make sure we get it right? Please present item number 1.
Morning, Commissioners. I'm Joe Adams with the County Attorney's Office. This hearing's been properly advertised. I have the affidavit of publication for your clerk. This is an ordinance amending several chapters of the Land Development Code. Of note is a proposed increase in the maximum allowable code enforcement fines under the code to the maximum amounts permitted by state statute. The fine increases require a vote of the majority of the board plus 1. The remainder of the amendments are being brought forward to comply with state law and ensure consistency and streamlining of regulations. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. At this time, any questions for staff?
Chairman,
Mr. Hammond.
I have one question real quick. Just wanted to get it on the record. So we talked about it a little during my briefing. I support the idea of taking the fines up to the maximum allowable under the state law because we've seen people kind of abuse that in the past. However, does the posture of our code enforcement change? Are we still going to continue to seek to educate first before we go to that punitive stage?
We are going to continue to educate first. We also have the lien mitigation process where once the violation is abated, they can come back and the fines can be mitigated down. Further, the fines are at the discretion of the hearing examiner. We are just raising the very maximum of that, so the rest of that will stay the same.
Okay, thanks so much.
If I could, so Joe, the maximum will be 5,000 per day for some violators?
So the increase will be for first violations. It's currently the maximum is 250. That will raise to 1,000. And for repeat violations, the current maximum is 500, and it would raise to 5,000.
Will be raised to 5,000. And what Commissioner, regarding what Commissioner Hammond, we all want compliance. We're not trying to make money. We just want people to comply with the current rules because we have some areas of the county where people will just continue to run a business out of their house in San Carlos Park, for example, and they just pay the fine every day. Or we're not worried about the fine because it accumulates over years, and they're not worried about it. They just walk away from their house at the end of the day with $300 worth of fine. So the problem is we have a few bad apples throughout the county that will allow their property set dormant, and we're trying to get their attention. So thank you for staff for bringing this back and trying to resolve this so we don't have to, because we're not trying to raise money. We want to be considered like the HOA police here, but we want people to be compliant to their neighbors and live within the rules.
Any further? Commissioner Ryan.
Appreciate the comments and certainly want to see a lot more of compliance. I struggle going from 250 to 1,000, and I struggle going to 5,000. So it just seems like the increase is tremendous, and as much as I want compliance, 100% just I struggle with.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, out of respect
Absolutely.
to Commissioner Ruane's comments, just a reminder, as Mr. Adams pointed out, that is the maximum allowable. It's not a mandated amount. You're not mandating to the hearing officer to impose. Just want to make that clear that it's just raising the potential max. And then one additional point, given that we are proceeding under a separate section of the statute, if the board wants to adopt this provision along with the balance of the ordinance, we will need a supermajority, which is 3+1. So you would need 4 votes out of 5 to approve the increase in the fine amount. Thank you, sir. Apologize.
No, I appreciate your comments. By all means, been doing this a long time. We seem to go through this process of trying to have compliance. The bad apples seem to get significant penalties asserted to them, and at least in my experience, we seem to have a lot of empathy when it comes to actually collecting those fines. We basically discount them by 70, 80, 90%. So it just seems you overinflate something and you come in and you basically are able to discount. So that's what I struggle with, the process. Very familiar with the process, did it in Sanibel, but the ability to discount something some 90% kind of takes away, and it's very known out there that that's what happens. So maybe deal with the latter, not giving the discounts as significant as we do. It just seems like that's what we do. So we're going to raise a fee, increase this, and then discount it by 90%. I just struggle with that, candidly. But I appreciate the comments.
Commissioner Sandell.
Understand your comments. I look at it in 2 ways. One is, how do you have a fine that gets somebody's attention and gets them to comply? But I also have empathy for those who are complying or live next door to some of these issues that want to know there's some teeth in this to help them rid themselves of people that are not complying. So it is a balance, and I hope that we can collect what where necessary, but also to add some relief to the people who are next door.
One other point, Mr. Chairman. I mean, so I can recall a case in Captiva where the people didn't have the money to close, and they had a condition. And yet the purchaser was willing to put the additional money in escrow, do whatever we needed to do, resolve it. It just took a lot of intervention to something from a business point of view. I have a willing buyer, I have a willing seller, and the roadblock seems to be this fine that we need to be rectified before we get to closing, which just seems to be counterintuitive of what we're trying to accomplish here. It was just an experience I had out in Captiva as a commissioner I really struggled with. We ultimately got there, but it just was painful to get there.
I want to say, this is going to give the tool, another tool to our code enforcement officers, and that's something we need to focus on. You know, one, we can give the messaging to the HECS, to the process. We don't agree with the 90% discounts. Or two, we can also support our county manager and our code enforcement officers to have more tools like this and more staff to go out there and make sure these areas, to identify the bad apples in the area that are repeat offenders year after year that can run their business out of a residential area or have a house. Is literally, we have a house right now on 41 down in Estero. You can't even walk into it. This is totally grown up. The grass is taller than the houses. But it sits there every day with fines running up to almost $100,000 now. To use our county attorney's office then to go in and try to basically take the property and clear the property with it. This may cost the county though. But it's, this is another tool for our code enforcement officers, and hopefully this will help them do their job better now.
Okay, good. So now I'll call for public comment. We'll come back for further discussion. Would anyone like to speak on this item? Please come on up. Are you Alexander?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir, I have your card.
Incorrect
Yes, sir.
item.
Yeah, it's just B2, so yeah, okay, no problem. Yes, sir. Thank you. Please state your full name, sir.
Of course. My name is Alexander Ortega. I want to thank this commission for the opportunity to offer our community support for the motion to adopt the proposed amendments to the Lee County Land Development Code with the specific reference to the item of increased code enforcement penalties and liens to maximums permitted by Florida statutes. Additionally, I would like to provide an example for its need. I have been a resident of Lee County since 2017 when I accepted a position as a pediatric critical care physician at Golisano Children's Hospital. You may not recall, but I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you on tours through that very hospital over the years. Lee County has been great to my family. Together, my wife and I welcomed our daughter. We've relocated both of our parents to the county where we reside in the Renaissance. I have the honor of serving as a director for the community's homeowner association, being elected by its residents, many of whom I call my friends, and several who are here in support of this very item. The Renaissance, like many communities in Lee County, is a private gated residential community with a private club and golf course. However, unlike many of those communities, the Renaissance's private club and golf course are owned and operated by a for-profit corporation. The current owner has been operating in a way that is anything but private since 2022, much to our disappointment. Our clubhouses often host non-resident weddings and other celebratory events. Meanwhile, our golf course is a popular venue for organizations to host golf tournaments and accommodate for non-resident play. The community's residents have expressed their anxiety and dissatisfaction with the current situation, noting these events provide concern for impact on traffic, safety, property value degradation, and disruption of community character. We filed a zoning complaint and a series of inspections. 2 notices of zoning violations were issued in August of this year. As we patiently await the zoning violation process, we fear that unabated violations will further degrade the quality of our community. The current fines for violations can be easily absorbed as the cost of doing business. We believe that the proposed amendment to increase enforcement fines to Florida statutory maximums will provide greater incentive to comply with zoning ordinances and provide enforcement a stronger tool to restore the intended zoning plan. I thank this commission for its consideration of this matter. Your approval will aid in restoring the confidence of our community and serve to protect its welfare.
Thank you, sir. Okay, at this time, would anyone else like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. I'll bring it back to the board for further discussion. Anyone else wish to speak? Commissioner Hammond.
Thanks, Chairman. I'll just share that again, as I alluded to in my questioning, that I think we certainly seek to educate first, especially if somebody doesn't know that they're in compliance. We want to educate, we want to make sure that we do the right thing with people who are getting violations for the first time. But my experience has shown me in my district even, there are some folks that just, I'm not talking about the specific case that was raised here because I don't know that I can comment on that, but there are some businesses that do look at it as a cost of doing business, and the fines have not been enough to get their attention, and they really make their neighbors miserable. And for the neighbors, they say, well, this was the code, these are the rules, and they're not following the rules, and they look at this as just a cost of doing business. What can we do? They feel powerless, and I feel like this is a good step. It's a tool worth putting in the toolbox. That's how I feel about it.
Okay, Commissioner Hammond. Further discussion?
I'll make the motion for approval. If that's
Second motion for approval, Commissioner Hammond.
I'll second.
The second from Commissioner Pendergrass. Commissioner Pendergrass. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. Any objections? Okay, seeing no objections, item moves unanimous. Okay, we'll move on to.
I have a question.
Okay,
I have a question just for the audience and people watching. When does this go into effect, the new rates?
Mr. Chairman?
Current cases are pending now.
In compliance with Florida law, when it's received by the Secretary of State's office, so that should be later this week, we will expedite overnight delivery service, but it's effective when it's filed in the Secretary of State's office.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, thank you. That's okay. Okay, we will move on to walk-ons and carryovers. There are no carryovers, but we have a walk-on. You jumped me. It's time to, it's to approve the extension of the Hurricane Helene state of local emergency. Commissioners, do we have any questions or comments?
I'll move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Approval, Commissioner Hammond.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Pendergrass. Does anyone wish to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, any objections? No objections, motion carries unanimous. Okay, I'll move to Commissioner items. Commissioner Hammond, do you have any items?
None today, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Sandelli?
None today, sir.
Commissioner Pendergrass?
Yes. If I could, I'd like to nominate Kevin Besser to fill the voting member vacancy on the CDBG-DR Affordable Housing Evaluation Committee. Mr. Bristol is currently serving as a non-voting member now. That's a motion.
Okay, you're making a motion for that?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Second. Right, we have a second from, motion from Commissioner Pendergrass, a second from Commissioner Ruang. All right, any public comment on it? No public comment? Close public comment. Any further discussion? No further discussion? Any objections? Would you like to make a comment?
No, it's just I have one more item real quick.
Okay. No. Any further discussion? Okay, Commissioner Pendergrass.
I just wanted to...
No objections? No objections, moves unanimously. Commissioner Pendergrass.
I like Bryce tonight. I was really talking a lot about the hurricane in a little bit with the update from the county manager. I would also like to recognize the Timber Group out in Captiva this week. The Timber Group has been such good neighbors out on Captiva. You know, it's hard to get up on Upper Captiva and Captiva. But I just want to point out this week, talking with them and seeing what they did out this weekend on Captiva was amazing. They got together, they got volunteers, they got their staff out there, they're clearing the streets, clearing the debris. So they've been great neighbors out there, so I'm sure the residents of Captiva are going to really appreciate everything they've done. So thank you to the Timber Group for coming out and helping out in the Captiva in the area there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pendergrass. Okay. Commissioner Lang.
Yeah, thank you. Henry Canal obviously needs dredging, and I was looking for this board's approval to bring it over to Winson as a funding mechanism to actually have that dredged. You want to take the action without anyone's agreement. So West Coast Inland Navigation, I would bring this item up for funding, but it's something we need to dredge. Just wanted to bring it to you all to make sure it was okay that I did that.
Any questions or comments for that?
I want to be supportive. I'm just curious about, like, is this the precedent? Is this how we typically do these kind of dredgings, or just curious as far as any comments? Yeah,
When the issue was brought to my attention, it was certainly suggested I come to this board. The normal protocol is to bring it up before you all, and then obviously go to Winston for the funding. It's about $275,000 it's estimated to be. But, you know, we have to, as a group, formally make that request, and then I can actually bring it up to the board members in Winston.
Gotcha.
That's the protocol I was told.
Some of the dredging projects in the past have been part of MSTU. I know in Whiskey Creek and some other areas, this would be a MSTU, it would be a separate dredging project.
This is the unincorporated, and it's been done before.
Yeah,
so
this is already established.
I don't know when we used that or not, but it was certainly brought to my attention that that's a vehicle. So maybe there's some clarity that you could.
Mr. Harner, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In this instance, there is a commercial benefit. So typically MSTU is when it is only a private benefit. This has a commercial benefit component. And if you would like any further on your original question, I can ask Mr. Ottolini to come up and speak to that.
Yeah, might as well also outline it, but that seems to be the difference then. I just, I know folks in the past have had to get together and assess themselves for things like that, and so the commercial benefit sounds like that's the justification, but yeah, I'd appreciate that explanation.
Roland Ottolini, Natural Resources. Yes, Mr. Harner's correct, because that channel also serves commercial establishments upstream. It's eligible for WCIND funding, and we had suggested pulling it from their CNIF funds, that it's an allocation to be out of a cycle type project, but in the amount of $275,000 should be adequate to handle the design, permitting, and construction. So we're looking at the mouth of where it meets Pine Island Sound.
Sounds like a good project.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
Okay, do we need to make any motions here? Or?
Yeah, I'll be making a motion that I'm able to bring this to Winston for obviously their funding consideration.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve Commissioner Raines, second from Commissioner Hammond. I need public comment now.
Yes, sir.
Anyone like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. I'll bring it back from the board. Any further discussion? Any objections? No objections. Item moves unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. All right, I have one item. I would like to ask to get an update on the animal services. Mr. Harner, or if you could have someone give us an update on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to ask Mr. Mora to present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate the opportunity to update the board. It's unfortunate that recent misinformation spread over the past few months has overshadowed the department's great work. Truth is, our animal services staff have an unwavering commitment to the welfare of animals and provide compassionate care for all that enter that shelter. In fact, as Commissioner Pendergrass mentioned, earlier this spring, the department was named the Outstanding Agency of the Year by the Florida Animal Control Association at its yearly conference. The department was also recognized with the Outstanding Corporative Team Achievement Award for their efforts following Hurricane Ian. Contrary to recent media reports, rescue group partnerships have increased by over 100% in the last 10 years, reducing the euthanasia rate by 55%. Based on the most recent data, the live animal outcome for Lee County is 83%, placing us at the statewide mean. More volunteer hours have been clocked at animal services this year than ever before. Through outreach and stronger media relations, adoptions and fosters have steadily increased over the years. And they listen. Based on recent input from residents, volunteers, and staff, Animal Services has initiated several improvements, which include a low-cost voucher program for spay-neuter in partnership with area veterinarians to assist Lee County residents with the sterilization of cats, the reconfiguration of outdoor play yards to allow for more dogs to exercise and play simultaneously, the installation of a backup generator for use during power outages to ensure the well-being of animals in the shelter, the addition of a monthly mobile vaccine and microchipping clinic offering support for community pet owners in areas across Lee County, the installation of a sound wall within the shelter, creating a kennel area that can be used as a quarantine emergency situations and provide a quieter area for staff to work with nervous dogs. Improvements to the adoption lobby were made to provide an inviting and open area for potential adopters. And lastly, an online rescue portal system has been launched that permits rescue partners to place holds on dogs without the hassle of emails and phone calls, which has greatly expedited the process. Commissioners, with your support, our animal service team works diligently each day to ensure the health, welfare, and safety of animals and our entire community. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to update the board. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate the update, and I appreciate all that's being done.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. That concludes commissioner items. Discussion? Yes, absolutely.
Maybe
Commissioner
Dave
Pendergrass.
and Mark, can we, I know we don't think there's any public comment today. A few people coming down here speaking about, how bad our animal services is. There's obviously two sides to every story. Are we doing anything to use our social media? Because I know they're basically, they troll on social media, Facebook mostly, to make comments about the board, about staff, about our staff personally. Are we doing anything to put information out like our services were just recognized on this recognition? Are we putting things out to the public so they can see that? So maybe some news broadcast will pick up the true facts of that?
Mr. Holmes.
Mr. Chair, yes, we do. We have a communication program for most of our activities, and animal services is included in that as well.
Okay, maybe have like a media day there, animal services, to recognize the award for the services, to put it out there so they don't have their same 100 followers on social media when they come there and speak about stuff. We had one speaker last meeting. It was actually, she was stoned off her gore speaking. So to get the true facts out there about what our animal services and our employees really are doing, that we're not killing animals like that, we're treating animals very well, and we go through this every 4 to 5 years with this group of people that put this because they want the services, they want to take control of services, they want the animals to sell instead of being adopted. So maybe we can use our resources to get the true facts out. We have a great story to tell. We just need to tell the story.
Yes, Commissioner. We have a number of programs and events that we do at the site to get information out. We have a number of great partners, but to your point, yes, more is better. I would like, at this point, I would like to thank you for the support that you have for animal services and the staff. They work diligently every single day at the facility. If you want to meet a more caring group, I'm not sure you're going to find it. They are a fantastic group of people that work very hard every single day. And again, we appreciate your support, and we agree we will continue to
It's just not fair to our staff to be constantly kind of beat up out there in one public meeting, but we talk about it here, but no, we really hear these meetings, so that's why it's better for us to broadcast what's really happening. We all have done walkthroughs of that place at different times. Surprise visitors, you see what's going on there. It's not like they said it is. So
definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hammond.
Thanks, Chairman. Thanks, Commissioner. I can testify. Look, I went and took an completely unannounced, a couple months ago, completely unannounced visit to animal control. They had no idea that I was coming. They were surprised to see me there, but the place was fantastic. What I encountered while I was there was a very caring staff, a facility that was clean and ready to handle the animals, and my experience was actually the complete opposite of what's been described by some of the folks in public comment here. So my experience was I went to the outstanding facility of the year. It really did seem like the staff, first of all, more than anything, seemed like they cared a lot about their job and what they're doing. I heard great stories about how many of the staff personally foster the animals too. Talk about taking your work home with you. I mean, they do that. And so I think it's been really, I guess, personally disappointing to see how badly our county employees have been talked about and treated. And I think somebody needs to stick up for them. And I'm proud that you brought this forward today and that all of us could kind of say a few good things about them because they do a very good job. And it's just not been my experience what's been described here. And so I would hope that we could continue to be proactive, like Commissioner Pendergrass pointed out, with our communication about the good work that they do at Animal Services. None of us want to see, unfortunately, animals have to be euthanized. None of us want to see that. I mean, we all do our best to really try to put together a facility and an effort that is compassionate and caring and that serves both the community and the animals really well. And so I appreciate you bringing it forward and saying a few good things about them.
Thank you, Commissioner Hammond. Commissioner Lane.
Appreciate the comments, both commissioners. Ironically enough, when I was driving in this morning, Joanna Lauder reached out to me, and she runs the Cape Coral Animal Shelter and Veterinarian Clinic, and she was certainly trying to give us kudos, but also wanted to offer any assistance. There's many times we can do very low-cost spayed and neutered programs. She wants to try to help as much as we possibly can. They're in the process of tripling their animal shelter right there in the Cape. they recognize that we take all the animals within the county. I mean, it's just our responsibility, even though they come from all different areas. So a breath of fresh air this morning. Conversation was a very positive one, and she just wants to continue to help. Big advocate of just having low-cost spayed-neuter programs, and she certainly has a reach and resources that certainly probably second to no one in this area. So I'll be meeting with Mark. Thanks for bringing it up, and thanks staff for what they do. I mean, can't say enough.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sandell, anything?
Commissioner Hammond, you said something about people taking the work home for us. I would bet that most of us in this room will probably own animals. So this is not something remote. This is not something abstract and stuff like this. My dog was snoring this morning to beat the band, and it's a great place. So I think that they're part of our family. I think we care for them, not just within the shelters and stuff like this, but the way we care for them personally. I'm glad we brought it up.
And I would like to really thank all the commissioners for taking the opportunity to step up and make sure that, and saying a few words. I think it's very important, and obviously I brought it up for that reason. Hopefully that we get our message out better. I think Commissioner Pendergrass made a great point. We need to do better with our messaging, and we'll continue to work on doing that. So, all right, thank you. All right, that concludes commissioner items. I will move to committee appointments. Commissioner Hammond, do you have committee appointments?
None today, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Pendergrass, do you have any?
None.
No. Commissioner Sendelli?
None,
Commissioner Wayne?
Yes, I have a new appointment, Dr. Jorge Quinzano, for the District Health Planning Council.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, and we have a second from motion from Commissioner Rain, second from Commissioner Hammond. Any objections? No objections. Item moves unanimously. Okay. I have 4 appointments. So I would like to appoint William Jones. I would like to appoint William Jones to the Telegraph Creek Bridge Repair O&M SIU Committee. It's a new appointment. I would like to appoint Vern Green, Telegraph Creek Bridge Repair O&M SIU Committee. Also another new, Brian Lebo, Telegraph Creek Bridge Repair O&M SIU Committee. Also new, Carla Bradis, Telegraph Bridge Repair O&M SIU Committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Hammond. Any objections? No objections? Okay, item moves unanimously. All right. Mr. Harner, do you have any county manager items?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we would like to provide a Hurricane Helene update. We are going to have a number of assistant county managers go through a number of departments and where we're at. But before we start that, I would like to take the opportunity to thank our county employees for the excellent work they did during prior and during this storm, as well as what they've done as a follow-up. And I like to take the opportunity to call out a few departments that sometimes don't always get the recognition that they deserve for the work that they do during these type of events. I would like to thank Solid Waste as being prepared for the debris pickup and all the work that they had to do pre and post-storm in planning efforts. DOT and all their work that they did helping out the community, clearing the roads, as we'll get into further about what DOT did, but I'd like to thank that department as well. All these departments continue to work through today and will continue to work through the next few weeks on this storm. I'd like to thank EM, who is still in the EOC working through these issues, EMS for all that they did during the storm and after the storm, helping our community. DCD, they've been very, very busy prior to the storm dealing with FEMA and what they've been able to do doing damage assessment and working with our community has been phenomenal. Our utilities and our Parks Department are, again, very vital in this mission and continue to work to this day. And natural resources, obviously, as well regarding all our water courses that DOT does not manage. So I would just like to thank all those departments personally from all of us. What a fantastic job they did. And that includes all our employees, but specific to these departments. So with that being said, I would like to turn to Chris Brady to start off our discussion today.
Good morning, Commissioners. I do have a few departments I want to run through. We're going to start with public safety, and I'm going to provide you what the current weather update is and what our current public safety team, which is working on this potential system that is in the Caribbean Sea, is being monitored by the National Hurricane Center. At this time, we're still anticipating at least a rain event. There is a 40% chance of development. That is down slightly from the 50% chance of development from this weekend. Our current forecast is projecting a rain event Friday through Sunday for most of the Florida Peninsula, and our forecast totals is 3 to 4 inches of rain over the next 3 days. But I do want to stress that we do still have folks in the Emergency Operations Center who continue to prepare for that and monitor that event. Our other public safety staff continues to support FDEM and FEMA with outreach on access to assistance for affected households and businesses. They are starting coordination meetings with FEMA Division Supervisor for any new issues or needs as we continue through these next few weeks. They are continuing to assist with community-specific needs in impacted areas, including but not limited to Boca Grande, Pine Island, Matlacha, Captiva Island, and San Carlos Island. And at this time, no team or staff have been deployed except for the USAR team, but we continue to offer assistance to the impacted communities to our north. Now moving to our solid waste and debris collections. There was a notice to proceed issued for debris management contractor Crowder Gulf and our monitoring services from Thompson. On Monday, 7 trucks were certified for debris collection. Debris collection was started in Harlem Heights, San Carlos, North Fort Myers, Pine Island, and Boca Grande, and Captiva collections began on Monday. North Captiva Island and Upper Captiva still has some accessibility issues, so we are continuing to work through those issues. We do have FDE approval to open 2 debris management sites, and the team continues to work with county lands to open additional. And our solid waste crews are working very closely with our Department of Community Development to provide information regarding impacted areas, including areas within the special flood hazard area. Now, with Parks and Recreation, our team has completed the initial damage assessments as of Friday, and they began cleanup efforts throughout the weekend to reopen many of the sites as safely as possible. But the beach areas in particular, storm surges caused a large sand shifting event that has closed many of our park sites. Parking lots experienced anywhere from 6 inches to 3 feet of sand, with many of our fencing, trash receptacles, and signage being buried. The crews continue to work through those areas to get them back opened again. Pine Island and Matlacha, several sites experienced minor water intrusion, but there were no extensive damages, mainly debris cleanup. As you know, Boca Grande had significant floodwaters enter into the Boca Grande Community Center and all other buildings on the campus, including the Crown and Shield Building and Island School. Work closely with our folks from Facilities and Construction Management to assess and start appropriate repairs there. And as far as parks county-wide is concerned, there was minor to no damage at most sites. Many of our preserves continue to be wet, but I did want to make a special note that we did have some damage to our fields, such as some football lighting at Estero Park and fencing at Buckingham Park. And as you know from community engagement, that team has been working tirelessly to put out information to our traditional media outlets, including national and international local outlets. And our social media team continues to monitor and push information out, trying to make sure that any false information or incorrect information is being addressed. And I do want to take a moment just to say that on social media, we have reached more than 400,000 individual users. So those efforts continue to make impact in providing good information to our citizens. And with that, I will turn it back over to our county manager.
Thank you, Chris. I'd like to ask Mark to provide an update as well.
Chairman, if I may, real quick,
Commissioner Ham.
before we leave that Parks and Rec real quick, on the athletic field damage, our games for the youth leagues going to be affected? And if so, how long do we expect that to be affected?
I don't believe at this time that anything is expected to be impacted, but I do need to get a little bit more information on the lighting issue out at the Estero Field.
Okay, all right, yeah, keep us up to date on that, because we'll start to get emails and calls and stuff if it looks like it's impacting the leagues.
Yes, sir, and we'll continue to work directly with the leagues. We have staff who are communicating with the leagues, so if there are any impacts, they'll be the first to hear about it.
Okay, thanks.
Mark, go ahead.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Community Development, I'll start with, they're coordinating closely with EOC on our post-storm protocols. We're looking at this as a great opportunity to roll out newly developed post-storm processes and demonstrate the improvements that have been made. We started our initial damage assessment on Friday morning, and it continues on. We were provided some mutual aid by Collier County and the City of Cape Coral, so we certainly want to thank them for that assistance. Our inspectors are out in the field. They're handing out flyers with permitting requirements and information about the 50% rule. It's really important that our constituents understand those regulations. And I do want to take an opportunity to remind everyone that all work in the special flood hazard area requires permits. Again, it requires permits for all types of work if you live in the special flood hazard area. We recently requested missions from the state for floodplain manager and plan reviewer assistance. We anticipate we're going to see some higher than usual permit volume. We are going to prioritize all storm-related permits, so they'll be prioritized and expedited. We are currently identifying the hardest hit communities in preparation for potentially putting remote permitting offices out in those locations. We're also working with the property appraiser's office to provide property value letters for Helene substantial damage determinations. We still have the Ian values out there. We're working with the property appraiser on putting the Helene values out there as well. Those are important. We do not expect Helene's impact will alter FEMA's NFIP evaluation timeline for us, and the county remains on course to meet that November deadline for our corrective action plan submission. And I'll pause there if there are any questions for community development update.
Any questions for Mark at this time?
All right.
I have questions for the whole, but go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. We'll move on to utilities. We did have maintenance crews on 12-hour shifts throughout the storm event. We only had one issue. We had a single air release line that required repair, but that did not have any impact on customer service. All of our county plants remained fully operational. We had no spills reported. We did provide pumper support across the county, particularly on Fort Myers Beach, to ensure that sewer service was up and running. We also offered services throughout the community and all of the municipalities. We reached out to Gasparilla Island Water Service, which services Boca Grande with the offer of mutual aid, but they did not need any. So I did want to make mention of that. I'll move on to natural resources if there are no questions on utilities. All right, natural resources. I think it's important for us all to understand that the coastal surge was the major culprit for flooding countywide. We didn't see widespread riverine flooding, and those waters in the rivers continue to recede to normal levels with just a couple of exceptions, and I wanted to point those out to you. As of yesterday, Gator Slough gauge at US 41 was still 1 foot above pre-storm level, and the north branch of Estero River was at 1.5 feet higher. So those are two areas where we did see some increase in the rivers. Natural resources staff continue to coordinate with Lee County DOT on community conveyance issues, such as in Moody River and Island Park, and solutions for public road and swale flooding on our barrier islands. I did want to take the opportunity to give kudos to Mickey, Pam, and Roland and their respective teams on their efforts. Great communication, collaboration, and coordination all around during this storm. Thank you, Commissioners.
If I could, Mark, I'd like to have one. You said most flooding was obviously done with the tidal surge.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that obviously uncontrollable tidal surge.
Yeah, correct. And we have Roland here. He could talk a little bit about some of those tidal surges and the effects they had on the flooding we experienced. But yeah, a majority of the flooding that we saw was coastal surge. It wasn't a major rain event, and we didn't see any of those other conveyances really crest.
On average, amount of inches over the whole area. It seemed very minimal compared to normal Florida weather.
Yeah, it depends on where you're looking. We've started our initial damage assessments, as I made mention, and we're taking high water marks. And we are seeing high water marks above 40 inches, particularly in Boquilla, some on Boca Grande. So we do have instances where we had some flooding caused by coastal surge. Our inland locations, we're not seeing those types of high water marks. So yeah, mostly exclusively on the coast or any water bodies that are affected by tidal surge.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Mr. Pendergast, Chef.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. I had a couple of calls from Upper Captiva people yesterday. I know their fire chief has lost some trucks up there. I don't know if we've had any communication with them to see what they're doing. Obviously, I suggest them to speak to the state too, since they're the district. I know the LCSO got equipment out there yesterday, water and stuff. I don't know if there's any update. Staff has anything on that, Upper Captiva?
Yes, we have had contact with them, and we'll turn it over to Chris Brady to provide a greater description on what's happening out there.
Yes, Public Safety Director Ben Avis was in contact with the fire chief this morning. Our emergency management chief, John Schultz, actually was meeting the fire chief on the ground at 9:30. He was flying over there. We did get some information as regards to some of the challenges that they have with their apparatus that has been destroyed. So there's ongoing conversations. They do have a primary engine that is working and at least 1 to 2 brush trucks that are operational. So they do have some equipment that they can utilize if there are any emergencies on the island. We'll get more information when John gets back here. We have a meeting internally to discuss any needs that they have. It does appear as though on the north part of the island that they are still having some water and drainage issues as part of what we'll be discussing this afternoon or after this meeting to see what type of mission might need to go into the system to provide some additional support for them there. So we'll have more information this afternoon.
And like also for debris, obviously we're not gonna have any debris like we had like compared to Ian, but I had some calls yesterday from John Hunt from Matt Lachey, some other residents, Mary Ellen Pineland. The debris, we're seeing people putting drywall out, appliances out on the curb already. Is our haulers be picking that up? Is that gonna be a separate issue for us as far as the debris picked up in those areas, the coastal areas where they had obviously household construction material being put out on the curb? Because there's some yards out there now that's pretty much it's on the curb, and there's a lot of drywall and appliances out there, furniture, mattresses and stuff.
Right.
What's going with that as far as the haulers?
Our community engagement team is working very closely with those areas that are impacted, and they've created email databases so that they can send information to those impacted areas to let them know how they're supposed to be putting their debris out at the road and how they're supposed to be separating that so that they can ensure that the stuff that they're putting to the curb is getting picked up. We have been getting a lot of feedback on success for that communication.
And I'm just asking, it's probably already been answered, so I'm asking these questions. I don't know, because we can't talk. I don't know if the other commissioners have this information, but, you know, what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing so far is people are concerned. We don't want to, set it for 2 weeks, and we have another storm, and then you have the same issue we had a couple years ago with the smell, and the drywall wants to smell and everything. Let's talk about more intercoastal flooding. We had areas like Mullet Creek, San Carlos Park, Island Park, obviously flooded again. Maybe staff can talk about that. There's always some in the past discussion, we've dealt with this over the years. Some people think 10 Mile Canal is the magic cure for this. Maybe staff can talk about how in the past, why nothing was done with 10 Mile Canal over the last 10 years. When we had other flooding events, we've had 3 or 4, I believe, in the last 10 years that's caused flooding. Obviously, this was a surge, so the water came from the Gulf of Mexico inland. It didn't come down the 10 Mile Canal because that's flowways coming from east to west. We all know that, but for some reason, some people think the 10 Mile Canal would have been the a storage area for water coming from the surge. So maybe your staff or Roland can talk about that. As far as that, how that, some people I talked to in Hendry Creek and Mullet Creek, San Carlos Park, and Island Park, that where that water came was from the surge from the Gulf of Mexico inland. It wasn't from storage capacity inside. And I know it's not my district. I don't know if Commissioner Sendelli was out there this week or what, but this historically what's happened here and why this is currently what we found out 5 years ago in our studies of the 10 Mile Canal.
Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'm going to ask Roland to talk about that, but as Mark stated, the flooding events were mainly related to tidal surge, not so much related to the canal itself or any other issue river-wise. We have, and to your point with 10 Mile Canal, we have, since Irma, Roland and I for many years have worked on these issues. The board initiated a flood mitigation plan which we have been working with and on for a number of years and have brought many projects forward to the board for approval and are either in the works or have been completed. With that, I'll have Roland go deeper into the things that we've done and, to your point, Commissioner, the issue with tidal surge in those areas.
Yes, Roland Nuttolini, Natural Resources again. As mentioned, it was primarily a tidal surge. Areas in that region, Island Park, that portion that goes into Muley Creek, it probably received over 5 feet of storm surge. So channel itself, 10 Mile Canal, would not provide any kind of relief for that. That's basically for relief for a rainfall event. The maximum rainfall we had was a little over 3 inches, and that was primarily western portion of the county. The barrier islands diminished significantly. Inland, maybe 1.5 inches, which actually feeds the 10 Mile Canal. And it did not, based on aerial recon, when we went over, we didn't see rivers flowing bank full, you know, in terms of rainfall runoff. Is primarily those areas were flooded due to the standing storm surge. And until that tide goes down, they're going to be experiencing those conditions. So there's very little you can do in terms of modifying 10 Mile Canal. In fact, dredging it would not, perhaps it may even bring it up even quicker. So this is something that's really not going to alleviate flooding on a storm surge event. As mentioned, Dave mentioned that we conducted those storm studies based on activity in Irma. But those are 200-year storm rainfall events. And so that did come up with some recommendations of some dredging activities. We brought Johnson Engineering on board to look at what can we do in that canal. They've conducted a detailed survey. They also done all the geotechnical work, soil borings, rock corings, bathymetry. All that's been done, and they are now in the process of evaluating different alternatives of a channel. And if we did some limited dredging, what that would provide for, again, a rainfall storm event, not storm surge, but that would potentially benefit there. It's challenging. You have docks built in there, permitted docks, so there's some limits on where we can actually dredge. There's rock, so it's an iterative process that we're going to be bringing forward eventually. We do have a grant application for HMGP funding, and we'll be modifying that grant application once we have a design that's cost-effective and practical.
Yeah, well, I noticed 10 Mile Canal last week, and after the storm, it basically was low this time of year, actually. It looked like it was lower than what it was this time last year. I know you guys are monitoring those flows. So widening or deepening the 10 Mile Canal at the mouth or farther upstream wouldn't change this because it was a surge event, correct? If anything, that would have created more capacity for the storm surge, correct?
A conduit of sorts. I mean, right. If you got a surge bring it up, it may bring it up further. It wouldn't be less resistance for that storm surge to come up. So
is there anything the county could have done over the years to change the storm surge, to keep this from happening, this event, where the storm surge, is there anything we could have done other than?
No, elevation. I mean, homes being to current building standards were, those that are newer homes built to current standards do not receive flooding in their homes.
So the house was built before I forgot what it was, the dates in the 80s, before there was built basically almost ground level on the water coastal areas. This is going to continue to happen until you choose to go up, correct?
Yeah, there's either up or out is basically only resolve for those who are sitting at a very low elevation compared to storm surge elevation. It's just a physical situation that's out there.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Romaine, we may have a question for you. Don't run off yet.
Appreciate all your help. Certainly it was very helpful going up in the helicopter, talking with you. Some residents just are somewhat lost on this storm. Had several residents, I was talking with Steve Hunch from Pine Island, didn't flood. Irma didn't flood. Ian flooded this time. So different areas just seemed like they were missed the last couple of storms, but flooded this time and didn't know the reason for it. So I don't know if there's any situation. You talked about hazard mitigation. I was on the phone with the mayor of Sanibel, and they were talking about just the need, obviously, to put in more money, and obviously the projects are coming in much more expensive. So I know there's surge issues, but there is some questions of how come I didn't get any water from any other event until this one? Anything I could say to them?
I mean, other than, like I mentioned before, the barrier islands received a good bit more rainfall. Not a lot, 3 inches, but you're really looking at combined events, a combination of rainfall plus surge. So any bit of rainfall that they got out there when you have a high tide, that water's not moving around. So it's going to take a while for that to draw down. That's probably why a lot of that's still sitting up in Captiva too. There's rainfall on top of inability to drain off. So it's basically.
Just the oddity was there were literally Gulfront places that didn't receive water yet inland places did. So that was where the confusion was, and that was where the anxiety was. Again, talking to people that aren't on the water, but maybe a mile away from the water, but there was flooding in their area, but not like Loggerhead Cave right on the Gulf had no impact whatsoever.
Yeah, the only way I'd be able to determine is looking at the bathymetry and also the elevation topography of the area, see if it's pockets that are just low-lying areas that are sitting water. So it really depends on the geophysical conditions.
Thank you.
If I may go ahead and add to that, my dad built houses here in the 70s, and they were built just barely above natural ground in many places. And I think that's what we're dealing with a lot today, is the fact that we didn't have the codes and the elevations and the things we're doing. So modern day, I think the comment was made earlier, modern day codes and houses are not flooding. They're not getting the wind damage as much simply because of the new codes that have been enacted over the years. And a lot of that was because we didn't have the tidal surges since the 60s that I know of, besides a no-name storm that came through one time and we got such a tidal surge. So there's almost no rhyme or reason sometimes why we get it, at least in my mind, in certain areas over other areas. It kind of doesn't make sense, right? But the reality of it is there's so much of our coast was developed many years ago, and the codes were just not there to withstand these kind of surges, and we're going to deal with that for a long time until those houses are eventually replaced and brought up to modern day code. So just wanted to say that because I've watched it grow, and I know what's causing a lot of these places to flood is they were just built a long time ago when we didn't realize the tidal surge would be where it's at today. And we just didn't suffer those kind of storms. So, Commissioner Sandelli.
I think we've all been all over the county here the last week or so. I think the variable that kind of came back to me was the variables in the storm itself. Not only the path, but this was so wide. So while we had damages at the coast, we had a lot of water inland because of the breadth of this thing, and depending on speed and so on and so forth. We can't control that. I wish we could. So as we go talk about preparation, there are variables that certainly are out of our control. I don't know the solution to that. I wish I did. But it's been interesting to watch the dynamics. Some of the newscasters are on 24 hours a day, and you're trying to track it. You just don't know. But I think we're doing a great job. And with what we can control, I think it's the controllables that are causing us the problem. So,
any further questions? Mr. Harner, anything further?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to continue our update, and I'd like to turn it over to Robert Cody.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Commissioners. I'll give you a brief synopsis of our Human and Veteran Services Department as well as our Transit Department and the efforts that they had pre- and post-storm. Whether it was deviating routes from a transit perspective, providing transportation from Pine Island to our North Fort Myers safe haven, and our Human and Veteran Services Department providing outreach to those who are unhoused and deemed homeless, ensuring that they had a safe haven, whether it was Bonita Springs and North Fort Myers. The two departments overlap because of the demographic to which we serve. And Transit provided free services for our entire county after 5 p.m. on Wednesday before the storm arrived. And working with Human and Veteran Services, our HOT team was at our safe havens to meet our individuals to whom we were familiar with, not only at our safe havens, but we met them where we know that they would be to get them safely off the street. And our Human and Veteran Services Department also collaborated with the Salvation Army to ensure that there were beds available. The Salvation Army freed up 40 beds for this event, and we housed 27 individuals at the Salvation Army. And of the 27 individuals that was housed at the Salvation Army, 12 remain. So the storm actually prompted them to receive the services that some of them needed and wanted and were afraid to access. And that availability and those resources and that push allowed for them to get some of the tools that they needed. Now I'll dive into our facilities department if there are not any questions as it pertains to transit and human and veteran services. All right, thank you. Our facilities department performed assessments all throughout the county. And what we identified, one of our major problem areas was BoCC and Pine Island. And on BoCC, I can speak to the community center and the BoCC school. Those two facilities were impacted between 2 to 22 inches of water intrusion. And those buildings are old. They were built in the early 1900s. And what they have is crawl spaces. And in those crawl spaces, we had water intrusion. And that water impacted the wood that's in those buildings. That wood in those buildings are extremely old and fragile, and it caused damage, extreme damage, which would result in us removing all of the wood out of there, minus the community school. The school, however, was built a little more sturdier, and we did not have as much devastation in the school as we did in the community center. In the school, we had minor damage to the cabinetry on the ground, which is being removed as we speak. Our team has been in constant communication with Mrs. Oliver, the principal at the school, and we look to have that school open by Monday. Our team's over there cleaning now, removing debris, modifying the school in efforts to meet the needs of those students and teachers and staff so that it can open on Monday. As far as the community center, EHAB and our facilities team, they're working extremely hard and diligently to identify space for the individuals that were operating within the community center. So we've looked at our Crown and Shield building, which is behind. It was built a little different, and the county made investment some years ago to the foundation to have more of a flowable foundation, whereas there's no crawl space in between there. That flowable crawl space has been filled with cement, sand, and water, so that foundation is solid. We're in the process of cleaning that building out as we speak, and we're drawing up conceptual designs so that we can house the entities that were in our community center. As far as Pine Island, we had water at the bat house, and we just renovated the bat house, but it was minor damage in there, and our teams were out the following day and were able to get it dry and clean. But we did have some water damage there. Our library, we had some siding that did come off and a couple trees down on Pine Island, but we're working through that. And I forgot to mention our library on BoCC as well. We had about a ½ inch of water in the children's area, but we were able to clean that out with help from our partners there on BoCC. So that is actually looking better, and it should open up tomorrow, actually, the library on BoCC.
Thank you, Robert. I would like to also, before I get into DOT update, regarding Boca Grande and Captiva. For Boca Grande, we currently have an island coordination team that is working with the community. And as Chris Brady mentioned, we will assess the next steps for Captiva and potentially have that same team there as well. We'll know more today after our assessment with John Schultz when he gets back from his tour. With DOT, real quick update for that. Our DOT teams have inspected all coastal bridge structures. They were deemed safe. Any issues that there may be, our DOT staff will address those in-house. With FDOT and the work on Pine Island Road and Sanibel Causeway, as you know, they have taken the lead on those projects. We continue to coordinate with them. When it comes to the Sanibel Causeway, FDOT has indicated all the safety measures they put in, the resiliency measures they put in have worked. Bridge approaches and the roadways on the Causeway Island held up well through this storm. For Pine Island, washout areas did not receive any significant damage from the storm, and the sheet pile walls appear to have worked for the resiliency purpose that they were put in for. Little Pine Island Bridge, the operation and temporary signal controls traffic signal that we have up held out well. We were very concerned for that, but if you were in the EOC, which many of you were, you got to see the Camera held up throughout the entire storm, so that was really good for us. Sand, we have been working with our municipal partners, removing sand from those barrier islands as well as the areas of our responsibility. Fort Myers Beach, we have been clearing the sand and did first push, now as well as BoCC, all the other areas, Bonita, all the areas that we're responsible for. Now we're picking up the debris on the medians, and for the next week, we'll be taking care of bicycle paths and sidewalk sand removal. Signals, out of the 455 signals that we have, 127 of them were damaged. 2 of those have major damage. Our team is working on that. The two that have major damage are US 41 and Courtney Drive by Edison Mall, and San Carlos Boulevard by Fire Station number 32. So our teams have already started some of the repair on the minor issues, and we're working through the 2 major issues. When it comes to drainage, our DOT staff was out prior to the storm and then shortly after the storm to make sure all outfalls were clear. All drainage systems were clear. On Gasparilla Island, I think you all know, on Boca Grande and Gasparilla Road, I think you're all aware that we brought pumps out there and we're removing water. We're now on the sand removal efforts. Again, there are some areas where water's still in place. We're waiting till that recedes, so we'll be able to handle that. And that is an update for DOT. And that would be all we have today, unless you have any questions.
Anything from the board at this time? Okay, that concludes your presentation. Okay, thank you. Before we move on, I'm going to ask for a 10-minute recess, we'll come back after 10 minutes and get started right back, okay? Thank you. All right. Board of County Commissioners, we will move on to county attorney items. Mr. County Attorney, you have any items?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I will move to public matters, public presentation of matters by citizens. We will start with Savannah Miller, and Savannah, I'm sorry, I can't see the Berg. Miller Berg, okay, thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, County Commissioners. I hope you're all doing well. I was just going to give an update on community housing and resources after the hurricane. Most of our residents faced storm damage and flood water in their carport area and storage units. But it was amazing to see the community gather on Saturday. Everybody came together to clean up all of the properties. And a lot of our residents are facing PTSD from Hurricane Ian, so we're trying to provide as much support as possible. But there is still such a need for housing on Sanibel, and as you all know, we submitted our CDBG-DR multifamily housing application, and we were able to get a second chance from the evaluation committee, and we submitted that material yesterday, and on Monday we'll be speaking before the evaluation committee, and hopefully our application will be for review at your next meeting. So thank you.
Thank you. Up next will be Joyce Campana.
Good morning. My name is Joyce Campana. I'm a Lee County resident of District 2. On July 19, 2024, FEMA sent a letter to County Manager Dave Harner regarding the steps that have to be completed by November 18 to prevent our community rating system participation from being retrograded to a Class 10 effective April 1, 2025. The letter also states within 60 days of the date of this correspondence, September 16, develop and submit a plan that includes timeliness and actions to address all identified program deficiencies and violations to the maximum extent. I've searched the county website for FEMA, and I am unable to find any documents dated later than August 5, 2024. This leads me to ask some questions. Has the timeline been completed and sent to FEMA? And why do citizens have to continuously ask every time for transparency? Why can I not find this on the website that was dedicated to this subject matter? FEMA continues to say to avoid probation in 121 days, Lee County must correct deficiencies and remedy all identified violations to the maximum extent possible. I'm requesting that an item to address the status of FEMA be kept on the agenda of the county commissioners and addressing the item of the 25% discount for the community rating up to April 1, 2025, when FEMA will decide one way or the other. The last time I made this request and asked for this to be a standing item on the agenda, I was told that the county board deals with too many important items to put them all on the agenda. I understand that commissioners and the board and the county are dealing with a multitude of topics of importance. However, insurance and insurance costs that directly relate and affect citizens' pocketbooks, really, and the whole state of Florida, should be included on the agenda as an item of high importance. Again, please place this item on the agenda and keep your website up to date, and let us know if you're really doing what we think you're doing. Are you doing your jobs? And let's be transparent about it and put it out there then. Thank you.
Okay, up next, William Joe Schottner.
I was asked by a few people concerning the bus issue, Merchants Crossing and Palm Beach, that there's no signs, and the bus driver says to address that because the new route, the 100 goes down First Street, it used to go down Marsh. And there's elderly people having to get let up by McDonald's to with walkers and stuff like that. So putting up those signs that used to be, I guess, by the clinic there or whatever. And Merchants Crossing has no shade or no protection. That'd be another thing. There's just benches there. Sometimes there's an hour or so wait for people with bikes because they can't get, put on the rack to get to Suncoast. So that's another issue, having some type of tarps or something over shelter for those. And there are a lot of people with walkers that ride that bus and elderly people. So, and of course, the need for housing, working together and using some of that grant money to get some emergency like bunkhouse setting until people get into apartments. That way they're not on the street, and what they contribute goes back into a fund, of course, to build. So looking at that on the road. So Julie, need to talk to you sometime, okay? So we'll all sit down and brainstorm, and that way it can get done in the best need of the community. Place on Suncoast, Brian, that was bought is to aid the community center. So been cleaning that property up. I mean, there's an old plumber lived there, and a lot of trees down and all that stuff, but I've been, since I purchased it with the help of somebody in April, would like to see that as an asset to our communities. And same with place on Nuna that I'm looking to get for this young lady that has a baby. What she pays goes back into a fund. Now, what I own is given back to, pay it forward, So looking to work together with the city, the county, so we have a better humanity. Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot to mention before we started, as the yellow light comes on, you will have 1 minute. So please start winding down. Just want to make sure I mention that before we call it. Kathleen DeCorte.
Morning. I was here a couple weeks ago addressing the concerns at the shelter, so it was a little dismaying to hear. I'm not saying it's totally bad. There are good things about it. They do a lot. They try. They work with some of what they have. But there are problems. One of the problems is I was fired as a volunteer from the shelter, and I got no response after coming here last time. So this is what is coming out tonight as a formal complaint, as a whistleblowing. I'm writing to formally file a whistleblower complaint against Lee County Domestic Animal Services. Certain actions and practices within the county government at LCDS seemed unethical and detrimental to the public interest. I am providing this information in true good faith with the hope that the appropriate actions will be taken to address these issues. The specific details in my complaint are I was fired by Sarah Morrow, Karen Frick, and unknown to me at the time individual. I was given the reason my services were no longer needed. Problem is today, an email went out pleading for volunteers for Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I wasn't needed. I believe this was due to my being involved in public concerns given to Mark Mora, David Harner, Pablo Adorno, Sarah Morrow, and Kevin Ruane. In these meetings, I voiced concerns regarding the conditions at the shelter. Covered in feces and urine. I have taken pictures. The lack of times that the dogs received out of the kennels and fresh air as required by Lee County Code of Ordinance 423. I voiced concerns to management at the shelter regarding dogs having to eat while standing in around piles of feces, which I witnessed. Dogs are not getting outside for 24 to 48 hours. Some don't get out at all. These walk sheets are evidence of the fact that a dog got out one day at 3:20 and 2 days later at 4 o'clock. That's 48 hours a dog has sat. There's sheet after sheet, dog after dog that this has happened to. This has had a negative impact on many. First and foremost, it has negatively affected the dogs. I positively impacted these dogs' lives, and other volunteers who have been fired did as well. Some days we were the only human contact we had. The less human contact they get, the more stress and the less adoptable. Secondly, by being fired, it's affected my reputation in the community. It's publicly humiliating to be fired from a volunteer job when they need volunteers desperately. I have come to the board, I have met with Kevin Ruane, I have met with Mark Mora. We have many people who are talking about the conditions of the shelter. One of the board members went on a day that a volunteer spent 2 hours cleaning out those kennels. I hope you listen to me. You'll be receiving the email tonight. and so will the county managers, and then I guess it goes to the state from there. I do hope we want to help. We want to work with the county. We want to work with Lee County Domestic Animal Services. There are a lot of people willing to give their time and assistance to help make it a better place. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Middleton.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Michelle Middleton, and I'm here to discuss Lee County Domestic Animal Services. I understand that some of you feel that voicing concerns in this manner won't lead to change. However, when our emails and calls go unanswered, how else are we supposed to get in front of you? We've all heard troubling rumors about the shelter, but I believe in seeking the truth. That's why I volunteered there, to witness the situation firsthand and to drive change from within. Unfortunately, what I discovered confirmed my worst fears. After finally obtaining meetings with Kevin and Mike, I was fired, along with another volunteer, simply for speaking out about the horrid conditions I observed. If our concerns continue to be ignored, we will have no choice but to release public records, photos, and videos as proof. This isn't a threat, it's a necessary step to raise awareness and draw media attention to these issues. I have many examples, but I want to highlight a disturbing one today. The case of a dog named Lupita. The shelters attempted to obstruct transparency by charging exorbitant fees for public records, such as $700 and $12 for an estimate for records on Lupita. This seems like a deliberate effort to conceal their shortcomings. I obtained the records elsewhere. Lupita was surrendered by her owner, making her the shelter's immediate responsibility. It's hard to tell from the picture, but from the shelter's own notes, she's in deplorable conditions. You can see she's clearly hunched over oddly. Finally, after 6 days of sitting in a small kennel with another dog, she was seen. This is the vet clinic's notes. Senior dog was owner surrendered in deplorable conditions, severely matted, coat stained with urine and feces, due in part to urinary incontinence, and non-weight bearing on the left hind leg. The hind was fixed in extension. The lateral digit was severely infected from an overgrown toenail. X-rays showed the left femur fully luxated out of the hip joint. The luxation of the left SI joint from pelvis, cranial displaced left patella, and a displaced fracture of the sacrum vertebrae. Due to poor condition and grave prognosis, elected for humane euthanasia. Basically, she had a crushed pelvis. She sat there for 6 days, suffering without proper examination, treatment, or pain medication. How can the staff claim to be properly trained when they clearly miss the signs of her suffering? Surely they would have noticed when they handled her daily, if they handled her daily. Brian, you mentioned you were there that day. I came in 2 hours before my 6-hour shift.
I would like you to address the board, not individual commissioners,
Okay.
please.
I was there 2 hours before my volunteer shift, cleaning the kennels. So when the commissioner did come in, it looked great. I was there. I told you about the dog because I knew about the dog.
Right.
That was the only time I'd ever seen Pablo in the yard.
Thank you, Michelle. Your time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next will be Patricia Howe.
Chairman, real
Yes.
quick, just because stuff gets said all the time during these comments that, like, I don't even know if any of it's true. I don't know how she would have known what day I was going to show up just completely on a whim, unannounced, to clean the shelter. So it just seems very odd to me that that assertion can be made. So I don't know. But the day I did show up, it was completely unannounced, gave nobody any warning. Wanted to check it out, and what I observed was not what has been testified to.
Because us volunteers go and clean it.
So you're testifying that volunteers do clean it every
Excuse me.
day. That's great.
All right,
That's
everyone.
fantastic. That's what we're trying to do, is clean the place every day.
Thank you, Commissioner Hammond. Thank you. Excuse me. He was addressing,
Oh.
he was addressing the chairman. He has every right to ask or address the chairman at this time. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, Ms. Howe, you're up next.
All right, I knew
All
I
right.
would get that. Okay, I'm here to talk about Island Park, 10 Mile Canal, which is not really the 10 Mile Canal's the issue. The issue is the far side of Jacobs Drive, which is a piece of land that's owned by the state. And what happened is DOT came in and modified, it was the drainage from one of the canals, and has a smaller pipe in there than what was previously there. That's the first thing. Second thing is, that needs to be cleaned out, what's in that state property, from my understanding, and in some 2020 land that is owned by the county, that if that was cleaned and dredged, the water would continue to flow. I've lived in Island Park almost 30 years. I've watched water come up. Ian, that was just God, and nothing I could do about that one. This one has to do with the drainage and the failure to clean out the drainage piece. I called 5 times, just, I don't even know what number, every Monday at a certain time. I called to complain to say, please come clean that area. On the 5th phone call, I said, on the 6th one, I'm calling my lawyer. Guess what? They came out. So I can't seem to get through and communicate to anybody on what the need is. I lived through the no-name storm on Sanibel, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I hear you on that. I actually teach engineering to elementary school students. So if you saw all my trophies, you would understand that I understand what's going on. I also teach having to do with mangroves and estuaries. So I just wanted to let you know, it's the far side. And there's trees falling down, trees growing in that back canal where the drain is right now. That's really what I wanted to address. I still need help. My neighbors need help. And I gave up cleaning my house to be here. Okay? So thank you. I would like to know at least who to contact, like the list of names, and then I can go from there.
The county manager can get with you after the meeting and provide that information for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
They're all here.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Howe. That concludes the cards. Would anyone else like to speak at this time on presentations? Seeing none, I will close public comment. There is not a workshop this afternoon, so if there is no further business in front of us, we are.
Do we need to announce our special meeting October 8th?
Do we need to announce that today?
October 8th meeting?
Yes, the board approved it last board meeting, but there will be a special board meeting regarding Lee Health conversion on October 8th in this chambers at 9:30.
All right, thank you, Mr. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Pendergrass. We are adjourned.
That's the one.